Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. We're going to do yet another installation video here. This time we're going to do Gentoo again, but this time we're going to do encryption via LUKS, LVM, and we're going to use Plymouth to give you nice splash screens to type in your passwords. So let's get started. Start a new VM here. Let's call it Gentoo. And let's give it lots of memory. 8 ought to be enough, 8 gigs. Create. Oh, come on. Yeah, next. Yep, create, next. Dynamically allocated, 16 ought to be plenty. Settings, system. I already gave it the memory. Processors, we're going to give it a whole bunch. I've got 12 of them, so let's give it 8. And acceleration doesn't matter. Display doesn't really matter. We're just using terminal. So let me explain up front. We're going to get to the base install. We're not going to do any X. We're not going to do any sound. We're not going to do any of that stuff. No operating systems. We're going to do the basis, the most basic install, and leave installation of everything else up to you later. So I have another series of I think 4 videos showing you how to get all the way to my awesome window manager setup. So for this, it's going to be base system only, and the cool thing about it is that from there, it's not unlike any other system. So once you get the encryption set up through the base install, everything else is exactly the same as vanilla Gentoo. So, all right, let's get started. Let's put this to scaled mode, and yeah, I know, right Control C. Get this real big so everybody can see it. And finally doing a webcam. Never done one of those before, so anyways, I don't think I've ever shown the face other than like I think I have a golf swing video or something on the channel, but yeah, why not? This one might be a pretty popular video, maybe, I don't know. My Gentoo install is one of my best reviewed videos, so clear it out. So as usual, we do an fdisk L, and it is SDA, so we do parted a optimal dev SDA. Print that out, should be brand new and empty. MK label, GPT, unit MIB, print, there's nothing there, MK part, primary, 1, 2, 3, name 1, BIOS Grub, and set 1 BIOS Grub on. And MK part, primary. I'm going to make this way too big. We're going to go from 3 to 515, and we're going to name to boot, and set to boot in caps for some reason. Some people do that on. And print that out. Do have the boot and ESP stuff in here. It's important. MK part primary from 515 to -1. Name 3 Gentoo LVM. Set 3 LVM on. Print that out. Cool. We are good. Clear it. MKFS vfat dev SDA1. And mkfs.ext2 dev SDA2. We could name it boot if we wanted. We could do something like L boot. Oops, getting a little too hasty there. Okay, so now we start the crypt stuff, and it's a couple steps worse than Arch, like it always is for Gentoo. So clear that out and begin crypt stuff. So crypt setup v y c aes xts plain 64 s of 512 h sha 512 I 5000 use random LUKS format dev SD A3. So this talks about the ciphers they're going to use, the hash methods, all the different languages and standards of encryption they're going to use. And this is all 512-bit and all that type of stuff, 64 plain. Yes, it's probably pretty good. So if you're going to overwrite, you need to do this capital S. Enter your passphrase, make it super secure. Nobody will ever guess. Preferably like a phrase or something. But this is just a generic one. And sometimes moving your mouse on the screen will help it generate those a little faster. Okay, so crypt setup just to see what it looks like. LUKS dump dev SDA3. So there's all your wonderful stuff. Hash spec, cipher mode. That's your cipher mode is going to be AES. Remember that? AES, XTS, SHA. These are all buzzwords you're going to remember or need later. So just those are the hash methods and ciphers and everything that you use to create it. Okay, so crypt setup, LUKS open. Why doesn't that? Usually it auto-completes. Dev SDA 3. Let's call it Gentoo PC. I don't like how that didn't autocomplete LUKS open. Almost always does. I'm going to change something real quick here because I had a typo there in my notes. So clear. We're going to PV create dev mapper Gentoo PC, and we're going to do PV display to make sure that worked. New physical volume, 16 gigs big, or almost 16 gigs big. PV display. Now we're going to do VG create a volume group called Gentoo, and it's going to be inside of dev mapper Gentoo PC. And we're going to do VG display and see that we have this thing volume group called Gentoo. It's in LVM format, read write, size is all making sense, everything's good. Now that we have the virtual group, we do logical volumes, so clear LV create, and I'm just going to do a couple here. C, Y with no dash, capital L, and we'll just make it 4 gigs for swap. Inside of Gentoo, and name it swap. It's pretty similar to the way we did it in Arch. And we're going to do LV create, and we're just going to do L, it's going to be plus 100% free. Inside of Gentoo, and name it root. We're not going to have a home directory here, just because I don't feel like it. LV display. We have 2 logical volumes. We have swap and root. They're inside of the volume group Gentoo. It's all good. Okay. Do the VG scan. And usually just says reading all volumes. And we're going to do one thing. We're going to do VG change AY. Oops. AY. And now active, basically, is what that did. So clear that out. All right. So let's go ahead and make the swap. Okay, swap. Dev mapper Gentoo swap. Good. And mkfs.ext4 dev mapper Gentoo root. Good. Swap on dev mapper Gentoo swap. Free M to make sure it's there. 8 gigs, 4 gigs, good. And let's go ahead and mount dev mapper Gentoo root to mount Gentoo. And mk directory mount Gentoo boot. And mount dev SDA2 to mount Gentoo boot. LSBLK, see what it would look like. Okay, so we have SDA2 is pointed to boot, which is our obviously our boot partition. We have a swap setup, and we have root mounted to root. So I'm not going to do that yet. Yeah, I believe that. Let me check and make sure I have something here. Yeah, I do. Okay, cool. So I got some things coming up. There's some extra little bits we need to do for Gentoo to work with LVM. So, okay, so CD to Gentoo. All right, now we just do the good old links, gentoo.org, downloads, mirrors. We go to downloads, and they make this nice and easy now. Stage 3, right on page 1 under AMD. It's just a stage 3 with a pretty recent date, the 26th, just 3 days ago. And we'll call it that. Looks good. And it's pretty slow in my virtual box, so I'll just be back in a minute. All right, looks like it's done. Yeah, we'll quit ls to make sure it's all good. And as usual, it's the tar xvjpf, right? Stage 3. It shouldn't take too long. Come on. Almost done. It's in the vars now. Come on. There we go. Clear. All right. So first time we're going to take a look at Nano. It's good to use W because if you have wrapping lines without W in config files, you can get errors. Portage make.conf. I just use Control K, down, Control K, get rid of all these notes. I don't like them. Get all this in here. Go to here. I put the usual march equals native. Make ops equals J, and I think it was 8, right? So we can give it 9. So a couple new things here. There's going to be crypt setup, crypt, Plymouth, ICU, Python, branding, PNG, JPEG, JPG. I don't know if that's the same thing. Yeah, that should be plenty. Now you could put things in here like your video cards equals also cards equals so on and so forth. Just leave it empty for now. You don't need it. That'll do. Copy L resolve to mount Gentoo etc. And there is a, oh shoot, what is it? MK directory mount Gentoo etc portage repos.conf, and then we're supposed to copy mount Gentoo etc user share repos.com. Really? Did I just remember that? Mount Gentoo etc portage repos.conf gentoo.conf. cat etc mount Gentoo etc portage repos.conf gentoo.conf. Yeah, wow, crazy. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's right. So clear. All right, so now we mount. Oops, undo all what I just did. Sorry, bear with me for a minute here. I keep screwing this up thinking I'm typing on here. Okay, so do the usual. Mount t proc. You know what? Give me a second. I'm going to make sure I'm doing this right. Yeah, I kind of knew I was missing some things. I just had some notes over here that weren't quite complete. So it should be mirror select IO into mount Gentoo etc make.conf portage make.conf. Go all the way to the end, and I like OSU here. So Oregon State, it's nice and close. And we already did the copy over. Yeah. Clear. And we can just cat mount Gentoo etc portage make.conf to make sure that this made it in, and it did. Okay. So now we can do mount t proc of proc mount Gentoo proc and mount r bind sys mount Gentoo sys dev mount make, right? Yeah. Mount Gentoo sys and dev. Now we're going to do an extra step here. We need, so what you're going to find is with Gentoo, when you have LVM, when you do things like grub make config, it needs a service called LVM tad, and it's not in a Chroot environment. So you need to copy the live CD's LVM tad process to the run directory of the Chroot. So first thing we need to do outside of the Chroot, so before we Chroot, we need to mk directory mount Gentoo host run, and this is a folder you can delete later once you install. And we're going to do mount bind run, the current run of the live CD, to mount Gentoo host run, so that you're essentially, so if you do ls run, there's a LVM tad PID here that is not in ls mount Gentoo run. So when you Chroot in there, it doesn't exist. So you're basically, in the next step after you Chroot, you're gonna bind all this stuff in there. So, and you can see there's LVM stuff in here and LVM tad and all that type of stuff. So that's what that's for. Okay, so now we can Chroot. Now Gentoo, then bash. I'll eventually get that right. Source etc profile. And I'm not going to do the export PS1. I'm assuming that if you're following an installation on encrypted Gentoo, you don't need to worry about knowing whether you're Chroot or not. So now we do mk directory run LVM, right? Yeah. And then we mount bind host run to run LVM. So in the step above, we bound the current live CD version of run to this host run, and now we're inside the Chroot. We're binding that to run LVM, which should be here. See, so now we do this. We do ls run. We're gonna have all this stuff in there. Okay, so it wasn't there before. All right. Hope that made sense. But if you don't do that, you're gonna get LVM TAD errors all over the place, and your grub won't work, and it'll be a mess. I spent a good almost full day trying to figure that out. Okay, so clear all that out. So we'll do an emerge WebRSync. I have no idea how long this will take. It's pretty slow internet for some reason on the VirtualBox. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it here, and I'll be back in a second. All right, now the WebRSync's updated, so we'll go ahead and do an emerge sync as well. This shouldn't take too long. Next, we'll select our profile. So when you select a profile, when you're doing it early, and I recommend especially if you're doing some extra steps above vanilla, is to install as bare bones as possible to get it running, so that you can reboot and make sure it works without, like you could select Plasma right now and have a 6-hour emerge before you even try to reboot, and it might be borked somehow, and you have to start over, and you just wasted 5 hours merging, compiling Plasma when you don't need to. So I'm going to take the bare bones base system, and everything we need will be brought in with all the packages we install. So we don't need to worry about any of that stuff. And as soon as this decides to be finished, okay, the next step is deselect profile list. And I'm going to set, I'm going to leave it alone. Even if I do desktop, it's going to bring in a bunch of KDE stuff probably, because I didn't, I really should do something like, you know what, first of all, I'm going to do this, emerge AV Vim. I need Vim, and I'll be back once that's done compiling. Okay, so we got Vim, and now I'm back after dinner. So let's do an emerge. Let's clear that out first. I think I moved this just a tad. Let's get that down a little bit. Emerge AV, and we're going to do something a little different here. We're going to do Gentoo sources, but we're going to do Gen Kernel next, which I believe is needed for some of the DM Encrypt stuff, which is LUKS from Plymouth. Oh, you know what? Hold on just a second. Just in case I didn't point this out already, you need to have Plymouth in here. I'm not sure if I had that in there or if I just changed it. So in your make.conf, you need to have Plymouth in your use variables. Okay, so we need to merge AV Gentoo sources and Gen Kernel next, and Plymouth. And let's do LVM2 as well. It'll come in automatically, but we'll do it now anyways. And we need to make some changes for Gen Kernel next. So these are use changes. So let's do CD to etc Portage. And let's do move to package.use. And we do an ls, and we see we have an IP utils in there, cat IP utils. It's got just that. And if we do an ls.la, we see we have this .config thing. So we're going to move the .config to Gen Kernel next. And we're going to touch the file ZZ template. And we're going to nano, or Vim now, gen kernel next. You see this this top line was in there from the IP utils already. It doesn't need to be in this one, so I'm going to delete it. And so the reason we did this, reason we made this easy template is from now on when it auto-populates, it's going to go to the last file and append whatever use changes you had it automatically do to the last file. And since it's now an empty template, there's nothing in there. Then instead of adding what was IP utils with the gen kernel, it'll be just what gen kernel wants, and then we just move the template to whatever we want it to be. So hopefully that makes sense of why I did that. Yeah, let's do that again. This might take a while. Relatively big packages. And yeah, 410 megs. 103 packages. That'll be a while. So yeah, I'll come back when we're done. All right, that took quite a while. So one of the things I forgot to do was the major update. So I'm going to do an emerge uvdna at world. I don't think I've done this yet, so let's take a look. All right, it's only 14 packages. So what happened was when we did the Grub and, Gentoo sources, gen kernel, and Plymouth, did a lot of the world update. So let's go ahead and do that. And yeah, I'll be back when it's done. All right, so we're all cut up. Let's clear that out. Now let's do the Fstab. And this is just a big mess of pointless stuff, and get rid of all of it. And let's see, we're going to do dev SDA, dev SDA2. Mount point will be boot. Fstype ext2. Ops will be no A time. And dump will be, I always forget this. I think it's 1.2 for this. 1.2. And then dev mapper Gentoo root will be at root ext4. And I usually put defaults. You can put relatime. If you have a SSD, you can do things like data ordered and all that. And this, 01, something like that. And swap. None. Swap. SW 00. I think that's right. Clear. Okay, so now we do the kernel, and for this I'm going to bring up the browser, and we're going to go through the requirements. I'm going to resize this for a little while. Okay, so we're going to do gen kernel, and we're going to do make ops equals J9 menu config, and then we're going to add LVM and LUKS all. Okay, so there's three things you need to make sure you get. It's Plymouth, Encrypted, and LVM, and make sure all those things are enabled. So first thing I always do is I go to general setup, local version dash -jche, so we know when we save it and load it that we're loading everything we need. So LVM, pretty simple. We're going to go to device drivers, device drivers. We're going to look for multiple driver something something. LVM RAID. We need to make sure device mapper support is in the kernel. So one difference is star means that it's in the kernel, built in, and M means it's a module. So you want everything that has to do with de-encrypting the hard drive in the kernel and not as a module. So that's why we're doing all this stuff. So crypt target mod in there, snapshot in there, mirror target, and multipath IO path selector. Okay. I think that's everything for LVM. De-encrypt needs a bunch of stuff, so we'll go back out. Enable loadable module support is on. Device drivers again. Go to back to RAID, LVM RAID. Device mapper support. I think we just did that. Yeah. Okay. So we go to this one, cryptographic API. And everything that has an XTS, SHA, or AES. If you remember, we used AES and SHA when we made our encrypted drive. So I'm just going to use Y for all these. For all the SHA, I think all we need is the 512 because I think that's the one we used, but just in case. AES, we're going to want all the AES. I think it mentions it wants all this other stuff too. I don't know if we need it, but serpent, two fish, LRW, do I see an LRW? User space stuff, it says there. Okay. Two fish, yeah, that should be okay. And then here for the init RAM, we're going to use the init RAM for sure, so we need to go to general setup. Initial RAM file system, initial RAM file system. Yep, we're good. Okay, that should be enough. And then Plymouth, the main thing is under device drivers, graphics support, you don't want boot logo. So that's good. So anybody that has a touchscreen, you want to go here to HID drivers, special HID, and find the HID something something. Where is it? Did I pass it? Yeah, there it is. HID multi-touch panels fixes most of the, that's what I found out was my problem with my touchscreen on my Dell laptop. So here you would also, if you wanted to do this, you would want to do like Gentoo Wi-Fi. You'd want to do that and do all this kernel stuff. Make sure that this is correct because you need to have, if you're using the, if you do Gentoo IWL Wi-Fi specifically, you need to make sure that this is exactly in this right form right here. That you have in the kernel and then 3 modules here for IWL Wi-Fi with DMV or DVM and MVM. So anyways, you're going to want to check if you have like a Bluetooth, if you have special NVIDIA. You're going to want to do things like look up pulse audio. Things like make sure you have 2048 pre-allocated, blah blah blah. All that type of stuff I'm not going to do because I'm not going to go to X. But this is where you would find all your hardware. You would do like a LS PCI and LS USB, and no, it's not there. But you would find out what all your stuff is here, and make sure that you have the right drivers installed. So, anyways, we got the main stuff taken care of. So I'll just go ahead and minimize that, get this stretched out again. Save it. That should be enough. Yeah, that should be enough. Config. And I'll be back once it loads. Alright, it's finishing up now. Supposedly. There we go. Okay, so next thing we're going to do is merge AV grub. However, we have we want to add device mapper and mount to it. So we're going to say no. And we're going to echo. Let's just say we're in etc Portage. We're going to echo sys boot grub. We're going to add mount and device mapper. We're going to pipe that into package.use grub. And again, we can cat that out. We see that's there. We do it again. And we see that device mapper and mount are included. Yes, we go ahead. And I'll be back once it finishes. All right, that one's done. So now what we need to do is clear that out. I'm going to vim etc default grub. I'm going to do a few changes here, quite a few actually. I'm going to use the command line Linux line, and I'm going to add the following. Grub preload modules equals LVM. Grub enable crypto disk equals yes. Grub device equals etc or dev ram 0. And in here we're going to have crypt underscore root equals dev sda 3 real root equals dev mapper Gentoo root root fs type equals ext4 doll vm quiet and splash. That splash part will enable what you call it, whatever, Plymouth. Okay, save that, quit it, let's check. Preload modules, enable crypt disk, grub device, command line, crypt root, dev sda 3, real root, dev mapper Gentoo root, root fs type. Yep, looks good. Okay, so clear. And we do grub install. We're going to use some modules equals Linux crypto search fs uuid LUKS LVM recheck dev sda. Good. Move this down a little bit. Okay, so now's the part where if we didn't have all this in here, we would get an LVME TAD error saying it couldn't find it, didn't exist or something like that. So now is the time to check and make sure that LVM, and might as well LSBLK2, oops, just to make sure that everything's still mounted correctly. They are. Grub mk config o boot grub.cfg. Oh, LVM etat did fail. Okay, so we're going to need to do that again, I guess. Yeah, bear with me. I'll be right back. I want to make sure I get this right. Okay, so what we need to do, let's go ahead and do password now so that we can log out and log back in. We need to go exit and cd and mk directory mount Gentoo host run. It already exists, okay. Mount bind run mount Gentoo host run. Okay. Now chroot back in. Okay. ls run. LVM's still there. Mount bind host run LVM to run LVM. Now let's try this again. Should work. Yeah, so for some reason, well, we did it earlier, but for some reason it didn't work. Maybe we didn't do the final bind correctly or something. But anyways, that's the error and that's how you fix it. Okay, so I can close that. Okay, so the next thing we do, let's go ahead and do a clear, oops. Let's go ahead and do a clear user add mg users wheel audio video sben bash. Okay. ls arm stage, we could do make it interactive. I stage 3, yeah. Okay, echo Gentoo vbox to etc host name. etc hosts forward to L, insert trying to hold down caps while doing that. It's kind of funny. Okay. Let's see. Clear. We can do emerge AV cronny. Let's do the H. Syslog ng dhcpcd. Might take a little while. So I'll be right back. Alright, so now that those are installed, let's do some adding to run levels. RC update, add cronny default. Let's add syslog g default. Let's add HD default. Now finally, this one's the important. RC update, add LVM boot, very important. Scared me, I thought I couldn't find it. Okay, and let's go ahead and do dhcpcd as well. You could do emerge AV wireless tools, net tools if you want. Might as well. I don't think it takes long. Okay, clear. Now what we can do here is pick the Plymouth theme. So Plymouth set default theme list, and we're going to set it as solar, I guess. So we can do vim etc plymouth.conf, and we see the theme solar is picked by default. I think it's fade in or something. Clear, and vim etc gen kernel, I believe. We do a / capital PLY, and it'll find the Plymouth. Go to 0. Clear that out. Change word to solar. I believe that's what we picked, right? Yeah. Okay, so we got that. Oh, since we just updated the theme, gen kernel needs to generate a new init ramfs. So gen kernel LVM LUKS init ramfs. So a lot of that stuff's already in there. Firmware, yeah, we didn't add those, so that's okay. And since we did just generate a new init ramfs, we'll have to do a new grub make config. And this should be it. Okay, clear. Grub nk config boot grub. Okay, found the kernels and then the init ram. So let's go ahead and do the usual umount, but I'm going to do a different one here. Run LVM. And what was the host? Host run. And then umount L. Oh, we need to go exit. And then cd. And umount L mount Gentoo dev shm pts. Get that right eventually, it's getting late. Umount r mount Gentoo. I don't know, maybe some of that LVM stuff still on there. Let's do umount mount Gentoo run, or host. Okay. Passwords are done. All that stuff is done. Let's do a reboot. Cross our fingers. Actually, I'm going to close this as soon as it dies, and then I'm going to remove the installation CD. Power off. And come in here, settings, storage, remove. Yeah, remove. Now it should work. Fingers crossed. Well, Grub was installed. That's good. There's your password. So if anybody can tell me why the background isn't showing up. It's doing that on my laptop too. The theme isn't coming over. It's just a blank screen. The color changes, but it doesn't come in with like a picture. And I don't know why. But that's where you should have a nice little, I mean, it's got those little bars, like little squares or whatever. Maybe that's what it's supposed to be. I don't know. Should work though. Yes. Root. Sweet. All right, so that's it. So from here, obviously, you would install X, you would install sound, you would select one of these profiles, whether you want to do Plasma, GNOME, Systemd. Systemd. So the first time I tried to do this, I had a touch screen laptop. I tried to do Systemd GNOME, and Systemd is not ready for this yet. I tried. You got to screw around with all kinds of more configs. It didn't work. I tried doing this on EFI, and there was just a few little bugs in there that made it to where it didn't work. So I just went back to legacy Grub, and it's working fine on the laptop now. But anyways, let me know if you have any questions, and I'll talk to you next time. Take care.